Yo, what is going on? Harvey J here, and today I have an interesting one. I am going to be talking about traffic plus offer plus content equals sales. So, if you're ready, then we can just jump straight into it because I am super excited to bring this because it's really relevant in my life, and yeah, and I wanted to show this because essentially, you know, as you can clearly see that as time goes on, um, trust is going down. So if you look at where it says global 26 and then it says red is distrust, the greenish is neutral, and the blue is trust, you can see that people right now have the highest trust in someone that's either a scientist or someone that's just like them, right? And if you look at the bottoms, the people who have no trust right now are the government leaders or the journalists or even the CEOs, right? Those are the bottom ones. And what that means is as time goes on, we tend to trust different people and we trust people who are more like us, meaning if you're not like the person you're selling to, people are not going to trust you. So that is super important to know because as we go on, make this point of uh, I make this point of traffic plus offer plus content equals sales. This is because I was in the sauna the other day, and you know, I'm a marketer, so like I think people know what I'm talking about, or people, we have this human bias that we assume that people know what we know, but that's like the farthest thing from the truth. And I was talking to someone about his company, and essentially he was telling me why like he would have the sales calls, and they show up to the sales calls, and they just didn't know why like they weren't buying. Like he was like so shocked, and he was once he was doing the appointment setting, it was working really well, and then he stopped doing it. He hired people to do that, and then now it wasn't working as well, and he's trying to like figure out like where he's going wrong, and I had a couple answers for him, which I'm not gonna get into it because it's just like I can go on forever about it. It was like a whole hour conversation in the sauna, which in the sauna it's kind of crazy because it's in the sauna. It's like 300 degrees in there. But yeah, so I was telling him, and I just got this idea because I was like, this is so true, and I kind of do it unconsciously at this point. But if you're not doing this, then you're messing up like big time, and yeah, and I think if you're not doing this, then you're you're leaving money on the table, and people are showing up to calls and they're not ready for it. And I know this because when I was working for this company, like doing around like I think it was like 6 to 10 million a year, they were super big on content because content is how people showed up to calls already knowing what they wanted. And it really opened my eyes to see that. I was like, wow, like if it's not for the content, the call is worthless. It's a waste of time because trying to explain your whole solution on a call and they haven't watched your content is just so much harder. And you can either play it the hard way or you could do it the easy way. And I was just like, why am I gonna play a hard way for no reason? Like I don't have to do that. Um, you can still take those calls, but they're just typically like gonna perform so much worse. And it really just taught me like, dude, like just do what's easy. And and I just never did a call if they didn't watch the content. So I was like, from now on, there used to be a model that was like, as long as you have traffic and as long as you have an offer, you're gonna make sales. And that used to be the model. That used to be the model of what worked. And like, if you had a landing page or a sales letter, and you just could get traffic to it, and then it would convert. It would equal money. But as time is progressing, I'm really realizing that it's not the content, it's not the traffic, and it's not the offer. It's a combination of all of them. And particularly now, once you have traffic and you have the offer and you're still not converting, it's the content. And why do I say that? I say that because essentially, if you can get content down, then you're going to be able to build trust in a way that you're going to have them bought in you before you even speak to them. And that's super important because if you think about your biggest celebrities, like your most famous ones, the ones you like the most, you feel like you know this person, you feel like you have a personal relationship with them. However, they don't know you. They've never met you and they probably don't care to meet you. But you feel like you love this person, right? Because you followed them for some time, you've seen their content, etc., etc., which got me into the idea of like we trust people who we like, we people who we people who are like us, right? Because if you like the celebrity, you probably see a version of yourself in them. Or we trust scientists because they know the data, they have the proof, etc., etc. which a lot of times it's all manipulated. And then you see the people at the bottom, right? These are the people who are not like us, right? People who are government leaders. Most of us are not government leaders. People who are journalists. These people are like the people who are like always like with your microphone in your face, etc., etc. People who are reporters, and the CEOs. These probably get like the most distrust. And unless they know how to make a likable personality, which is rare because only the advanced ones know how to do that. But it's just proving that like trust is going down and down and down, and you have to know how to combat this. And essentially, this is why content is so important, because content is a form of hypnosis. It's a propaganda at the end of the day. And imagine someone watching 5 hours of your content, 10 hours of your content before they even speak to you, versus the person who doesn't know you, has never heard of you, doesn't care about you, doesn't even know what you offer. They're just showing up to the call because someone told them that it would help them, right? That person versus the person who, like, let's say this is you right here in the image, and you've consumed 5 hours of that, right? Like, don't you think it's gonna have an effect on you, on how you're gonna show up to that call, how you're gonna treat the person who's conducting that call? Like, of course you are. And it just really proves the idea of why content is so important, because without content, your ability to build trust, your ability to prove that what you have, it can actually help them, is just so important, and it makes the biggest difference. So this is why I'm so big on content. And moving forward, like, you're probably gonna hear a lot of people talking about content is the biggest game changer, because now there's so much competition in all businesses, just because of the internet is teaching people how to create these businesses. So now there's a lower barrier to enter into any business, and because of that, you have to be able to stand out and make yourself different from the rest. And the way you do that is through content, because content, you're a unique person with a unique value, with a unique set of beliefs, with a unique set of insight. And this is why I was telling him, I was like, in the sauna, I was I was going over, I was like, all right, look at me, right? You're watching my content right now, and I'm explaining to you all of this, right? Are you going to get the exact same insights? Are you going to get the exact same perspectives? Are you going to get the same exact delivery, and et cetera, on from the next person? Probably not. You're not going to find. I'm one of one. You're not going to find another one of me. The way my delivery, my humor, my communication, like everything involved, you're not going to find that, because that's my value, right? So if you can portray your value, right, and you don't have to be super insightful, as long as like if you look at the last one, it's like if you're someone like them, right, or if you're a scientist and you have your data, then people are going to trust you, right? And essentially, this is why people buy into the person, not the business, because through content, through these through these videos that I make, through the videos that Alex Armozy makes, through the videos that all the leaders make, like Sam Ovens, et cetera, you're buying into the person. You're not really buying into their business, because their business can change. However, if the person is behind it, you'll buy into that vision because it's them, right? And this is why content, and this process right here of you consuming it and you getting hypnotized in a sense, is so important, because this is going to be able to build the knowingness, like they know you, they like, and they trust you, right? And it really tied back to a spiritual conversation of something Nikola Tesla believes in a lot. And he's like, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And I know this is like kind of like it's spiritual and it's a little in the air, and you're like, oh, like, how is this science? And it doesn't, like, it doesn't feel right. But let me explain why I think this is the most important part. Because essentially, if I'm gonna give you two examples on why energy is so important. We're gonna leave out frequency and vibration because I'm not gonna get into deep into it, just because I think energy, me explaining it with energy, I think it's enough. It's sufficient, right? But think about this: your energy towards, let's say, your favorite YouTuber, the person you subscribe to, the person you watch most of their content, right? Their lifestyle content, their like in-depth content, if they're like, if they have a particular skill or whatever, right? Let's say you're gonna go buy food, right? They're selling a barbecue sauce, right? This person, your favorite YouTuber, who you watch thousands of hours, comes out with a new barbecue sauce, versus a person you've never heard before, right? And they have all the best marketing, they have all the best like language, and they all have all the best like angles, et cetera, right? They come out and you see their barbecue sauces side by side. Which one are you more likely to buy? I'm telling you right now, it's the person that you have more trust with. You're probably the YouTuber, even though the other person has better marketing, even though the other person is better. if you're gonna choose one of them in that moment, you're gonna go with the person who you know, like, and trust, right? And that is the brand. That is the content. The person who's created so much content and has built trust. Why? Because the energy that you have towards them is way higher. The frequency and vibration are higher. You're vibrating at a higher frequency, at a higher vibration. You have higher energy towards that person. Why? Because you've gave more of your energy to that person. You've sat and listened and focused on what they're saying and then dwelled upon it and laughed at it. And you exchanging energies with their content is why there's more of it there. So there's a saying, it's like energy is never destroyed, it's always converted, or it's always like transferred. And that's what it is. It's like when you like, and this comes it's really deep, but it comes back to the idea of a feedback loop. Like, essentially, like, the more you give of something, the more energy it gets, and the more energy it creates, which the more energy it attracts, which is kind of insane. I wish I had the video that Sam Ovens talks about the feedback loop, because it's so cool. Essentially, it's like and this is like quantum physics essentially, but your ability to attract more because you give more, which means you get more. And let me tell you like this. Like, for example, uh, you see uh, you see like a group of birds, right? And uh, you throw a little bread. You throw bread, and then you see like one come, right? And then that one came, and then you see the rest come. Like, there's like 20, and then there's like five, and there's 10, there's 20, and they're all fighting for that little piece of bread. And essentially, it's because when you throw that piece of bread, right, and one comes, right, that one attracts the other ones, right? Because that energy, the energy from that one bird, attracted all the other ones in that certain direction. And that's the power of momentum. It's like when one, and it's the same thing with humans. It's like, it's the idea of social proof. It's the idea of feedback loop. It's like, because that one bird created that energy to fly towards that bread, that energy that was exchanged from that bird realizing there's food there to coming to that piece of bread attracted the rest, right? And because that one bird attracted another bird, which attracted two birds, and then those two birds attracted four birds, and it keeps compounding like that. And let me tell you like this: it's like when a new music video comes out of your favorite artist, right? If he's like a rap, or he does pop or rock or whatever you like, and you know, at first, no one starts off famous. But as soon as someone starts getting more recognition, you tell a friend about this person's music, and they tell a friend, and then they tell a friend, and it just keeps going. That's the accumulation of energy, right? And at some point, it would have attracted so much energy where now it's easier to attract even more people, and even because there's so much social proof. There's like, if you look at their YouTube following, or their subscribers, or their Instagram following, right? At first, it was so hard to crack 1,000 followers, but now they already have 1,000 followers. It's easier to get from 1,000 to 2,000 followers, because they have so much energy. And then it's easier to get from 2,000 to 10,000, and 10,000 to 20, 20 to 100,000, 100,000 to a million, etc., etc. It gets easier and easier because there's so much energy behind that movement. If it's the bird coming to the piece of bread, if it's the artist trying to blow up in the music industry, if it's the consumer watching your content on why they should buy you because you have this certain process, right? The more they invest into your content, the more they invest into your perspective, and the more they invest into you, the more you're going to get from that person in terms of investment. So I believe that this is the most important thing in business for the next, probably because of AI. Like, it's probably going to be the biggest shift for the next 50 years, to be honest. Because as and honestly longer, because if you really think about it, if AI removes all information based businesses and now there's only services, people are only going to be able to make the distinction of who they want to work with based on price and based on brand. Like, and by brand I mean personality and insights and data. Like I just mentioned, like, they're buying a person. They're not buying the brand. Like, no one cares about a brand. People only like Nike because LeBron's behind it, because Cristiano Ronaldo's behind it, because these humans, like these brands are like these human brands are behind it, not because Nike is Nike. If they were Nike and they never had these personalities behind them, they would eventually die off, right? But Nike's a accumulation of all these personal brands, these human brands, and that's why it's Nike, you know. But if you look at all the brands that don't do that, they don't have influencers, you know, they don't have celebrities endorsing their stuff. Those brands eventually die out because a brand is faceless. Like there's no one behind Nike. Like no one's the face of Nike. Like no one is Nike. But if you look at who Nike associates with, right? Like LeBron, Cristiano Ronaldo, all these Neymar, all these big athletes, if they were to stop doing that for the rest of the time and stop associating with all these influencers and athletes and et cetera, that brand would die because people buy into people. They don't buy into the faceless entities, right? Which is what Nike is. But because they know how to associate with humans using LeBron, Cristiano Ronaldo, Neymar, et cetera, that's why they have such a big brand. So, and this really gets me back to the map of consciousness because essentially, if you understand what where you are within the day and where people are in terms of you, then you'll be able to understand and you can put yourself in that person's shoes. You'll be able to understand like why people act and why people treat you a certain way, which is so cool because if you see it like this, like think about it. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but right here at the bottom of the scale where it says survival paradigm on the left hand side, we're at fear, right? It's anxiety, right? Um, People live in fear. Like people typically, most of the day, they're in fear, meaning they're in a state of anxiousness. And throughout the day, we're constantly going up and down the scale. But essentially, like most of the time people are living in fear, and especially like if you that's why like for example if you ever throw a party or something, or if you invite somebody, or if you make a deal offering, people are in a state of anxiety. Like they don't know if they should believe in you right. They're frightened, right? If you look at the right hand, like they're like, oh, I don't really know, like, oh, they're timid. They don't really, because they don't trust you, right? They don't believe in you. Okay, and our goal, back to the energy conversation, is to get them up this level of energy, because if you can get them from fear, and if you look at the upper portion of the graph to acceptance, reason, and love, then you'll get them to enjoy, then you'll get them to believe in you, you'll get them to take action with you, because if they're at a low level of energy, they're not going to feel like it's the right decision. And as humans, you know that we make, I don't care if you're a man or a female, we all make decisions with our emotions and then we justify them with logic. Meaning every decision we have made has been an emotional decision, and we give logic as a reasoning of doing that. Like you check your phone because you felt uncomfortable, you wanted a dopamine hit. That feeling of feeling uncomfortable was the reason you did it, but you justified of, oh, I wanted to see if someone texted me, or I wanted to see if someone called me, or I wanted to check Instagram, right? Whatever you justify it with, but it's the same principle. We make emotional decisions and justify with logic. So you got to be able to understand like our goal here is to take them up the scale, and that's why content, right, is the most powerful force that we have moving towards the future. Because if you can get someone to trust you, know, like, and trust you without you even having to speak to them, they can just sit down, watch your content in 2x speed, or just consume your content over a period of time. Because a sales cycle isn't in one day, it's over months, it's over years, right? So if you can get them to consume your content in the long term, then you're going to do a pretty good job in terms of getting them to buy into you and believe in you. So understanding that sales cycles are not immediate, they take time, and we want to take them to a higher form, to a higher level of energy with us, because we want to get them to a place of peace, joy, love, and we want them to move them away from, fear. And yeah, and we are in a place where we want to trust people, but it's hard to trust people because life is, people are just not worthy of trust no more, because people are self-interested, and they're not willing to give. So my goal here is to give you as much as I can of me, so you can build higher energy towards me, and we can move to a place of peace, joy, and love. So that being said, thanks for watching. Hopefully you found this valuable, and I'll talk to you very soon. Goodbye.